evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today I'm Jesper. Jesper's from DAD. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you. How are you?
I'm great. I'm glad we can do this. What time is it where you are right now? It's noon
I think
here.
maybe it's 6 o'clock in the evening.
Oh, it's all
A
nice and
little over,
sunny there.
maybe. Yeah, yeah. It's up north, so it's gonna be light out until 10 o'clock. So everything's is just so beautiful.
We're just. I'm in New England in the U.S. and I'm just starting to get later nights, warmer weather. So for us, it's a treat.
Yeah, it
But
is.
we're going to talk about some music. You have a greatest hits, which is a double album coming out, which is an hour and a half of just your greatest hits, and you have some live songs, but they're not just in one spot. You have them kind of chunked through it. And we also talk about some new music and touring what you're doing this summer. Um, First thing is this album's greatest hits. It's pretty good. It's got a great lineup. It covers a lot.
Oh
Being a
yeah.
fan,
The,
it's
the thing was that we were going through it. Initially thought, hey man, let's just do a 12 track, like basically like a petrol station version of our career, like something
yeah,
a record you just buy on the go. Yeah, let's do that. And then when we came to actually pick the 12 biggest songs, everyone was going like, nah, we can't leave this out, we can't leave that out, we can't leave this out. Okay, let's do this. So we turned it into a double album. So it's definitely not like a petrol, because now suddenly the price is higher. And then we had to go down into the nitty gritty. We had to bring in the stats from Spotify, bring in stats from the Apple Music to find out, okay, what songs are people actually listening to? So what are fan favorites? What are actually happening out there streaming? And most of all, maybe, how can we incorporate some of the new stuff? Because of
yeah,
course the new stuff didn't have 25 years to rank up streams or whatever. How
yeah,
can we do this? So we found out that actually a couple of new songs that are high up on the listening list on those streaming services. Of
yeah,
course it didn't stream as much, but it's high up there on the. So this is pretty much a good picture of what's actually happening at the moment in terms of interest for DAD, but also some of the songs we just threw in a live version instead, mostly because we can't really release the same song 3 or 4 times, because it's always been like a greatest hits,
yeah,
but also
yeah.
because sometimes it's hard to listen to yourself when you were 19. So put in a live song that a bit more reflection of what's happening at the moment.
Oh, I think that maybe a couple of thoughts here. First off, the looking back at yourself thing. I can say I've been doing this show for a couple of years. I don't even want to see the last episode of myself. So now I get why a musician would want to hear themselves years ago. Like I'm like I don't want to even hear myself now.
Yeah.
So I get that it's hard, and
I even see myself as stupid yesterday. So today I'm much more clever.
I thought you could say you're much more stupider.
That's a better way to live, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, my motto is if you think you stink. So it's just you just want to kind of
Yeah.
keep doing it, keep trucking. But as a fan, I'm a really deep dive fan. So I've enjoyed the albums of DD through the years. And I like how they've kind of have some little different flavors to each of them. We've always kind of kept that main rock and roll thing.
Yeah.
You guys have experimented with little different things here and there, but it's always been DAD. And as I say, people should also check out your solo stuff too. It's really good. Which leads me on a side question for that. With this album, though, it really for this greatest hits, about an hour and a half long, and some live stuff in there. I do think it's good for fans that maybe not aware of everything, or like what happened to them, or like stateside with here, US, or wherever. This is
Yeah.
a good album to get back into the band, and then that between that greatest hits and the new stuff coming out, it's really just a nice handful of stuff to kind of reintroduce the world that's not aware of what's going on, what you were doing,
Definitely.
what you've been
It
doing,
feels like
and what
it
you're
feels
doing.
like it feels like a great chance to be able to show the whole picture, because that's what happens sometimes. Sometimes when you just focus on the hits or whatever, then you don't really feel yourself represented. Now this is really great to be able to, as you said, to a wide variety of DAD, but also being able to come out with a new album in October that's like settles. Okay, here we are now. It really is lovely to celebrate our 40th. in this sense.
Yeah, congratulations on that. I mean, 40 years is a long time with anything, you know. I think it's amazing. And I love to see it. I think the best thing when if a band can do a greatest hits and do a live album, I mean, so do a new album, it
Yeah,
shows that you're still writing music. It's just you're taking a minute to celebrate a
definitely.
package. You know,
Yeah,
even as fans of music or as musicians, you like having a greatest hits package or whatever.
yeah,
I personally like an album like this when bands do it like this because there's songs on here when I had it sent to me early. I'm like, oh, I was not expecting this. That's what I like.
exactly,
That's a
exactly.
treasure.
The
And
thing,
and
the
I
thing
think
is that, yeah, the thing is that doing this, it's like whenever we, trying to celebrate the past, it's like we need to put out some newer stuff as well because we can't
yeah,
really hang on to that's like hanging on to a gravestone. It doesn't. I mean, it's the past. It's great. I love it that it gives a picture. There's a lot of great songs on it, but I really want to show how it is now. I mean, that's. I was actually at a party yesterday here in Copenhagen where Lars Ulrich was there, and we had a great talk about this. Who would have known like that 40 years ago? Blah 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 blah. We had a really great talk about it, but we agreed that there's a lot of people out there who remembers now is an anniversary for this song, anniversary for this album, anniversary. It's like, well, I do not keep track. I'm either here or I'm into tomorrow. But yesterday, that's definitely gone. So it's whenever we have to celebrate the past, not have to, wants to celebrate the
right.
past. Let's have some new stuff as a companion.
It makes and it's very relevant. And Lars, they also keep putting out new music, and I think it's so important. And I get, and if fans don't want to do it, I understand because you know with music it does come down to a certain amount of money. It is a music business, and if some fans of certain artists aren't buying the music, and to go in a negative to make music, unless you're just streaming it off your site, you can't lose money. But if you're in a position where you can release new music,
Yeah,
that is a gift as a musician to always because you have to get it out of you. Even if you write it and throw it in a corner in your drawer in a cassette,
yeah, exactly.
that's all we are.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? To
exactly.
get it out of your
And
system to move
that's
forward. It's
yeah,
purging.
it's really just about feeling relevant or being able to show the world that you're still in it. And of course, it's something that we can't really stop. I mean,
No.
which is that's the way to to handle your own emotions. That's to write some songs, and that's of course been something that we've gotten used to and made ourselves into like an emotion comprehending machine in that sense. But just because that's how we live. You live by poetry in a funny way, and I think that being able to feel yourself being alive while celebrating the past, that's a perfect place to be.
Yeah, it is. And so as talking as fans, I've heard it and it's really it's a great collection. So if you're DNA fans, you're gonna just love it anyhow, obviously. But if you're newer people, it's got some good stuff. It leads you back to all the other albums. I mean, your last album you did, you know, Prayer for the Loud, what a great pun to begin with. You
Yeah,
know, yeah, you got some good puns, and it's kind of funny. You guys being DADs, it was like dad pun jokes, so it's kind of funny
yeah,
there. But on a serious note, I think the music you do is still quite relevant. I don't think it doesn't sound dated. Even your older stuff does not. It just sound like a rock and roll band. Always sounded like a rock and roll band. It's fresh.
yeah.
You know, I don't. I think you escape some of the sounds of the '80s for production, even on some of the albums. And it might be because of where you're located in the world, influences. I think it's been a neat thing, and you can correct me on this one. Do you think being located, not being in the LA rock scene your whole life, with all the trends in the US, it's kind of allowed you to keep more of a steady thing with not so much of an influence. It's allowed you just to be a rock band and not be
Yeah,
tampered with.
I'm pretty sure that that means a thing. The whole latitude, longitude thing means a thing. But another part of it is that we grew up and we already had some kind of language in the whole punk rock scene. So we had
Yeah,
like a feeling that you can never jump a bandwagon totally. You really, of course, keep your ears out what's happening in the world, but don't jump a bandwagon right away. Don't think that you need to be relevant because if you really try to be relevant, then you're actually out of fashion next year. What you do have to, yeah, and it's very hard. It's a hard thing to do. It's a hard trick to do. You have to find out what do you like, where
Right.
are you, and what how. So of course, seeing how the whole punk energy went into hair metal scene at that point. I mean, even Guns N' Roses started out as very rough,
Yeah.
but also with some very high hair.
Yes, you did.
So, so I'm pretty sure that everybody was like mesmerized. All right, the energy is moving over here. Let's go, let's go. But I mean, I really felt that which okay, let's wait a while. Let's see what happens. Let's do our kind of yeah. Let's try to do our blues rock
Mhm.
as rooty as possible while we are in the now, while we are here, while we are competing with LA bands, while we're competing with English bands. Let's try and put in some Danish stuff for the sole reason that's the only way you can finish stuff is with your heart. You can always think of something smart and clever, but you can never really finish it unless it's something that's rooted in you.
You well, that's perfect. I mean, and I think a big part of that is your grounding also of where you're from, and I think culturally, I always feel like there's a much more of a mature feeling, even from rock and roll bands back then, because like so you talk with the LA bands. I love a lot of the rock bands from LA and metal bands. I like all kinds of stuff. Point is, it was really interesting is back then a lot of those bands were influenced by Hanoi Rocks and Rose Tattoo, which weren't American bands. So the foreign
Exactly.
bands that were coming in were trying to be influenced by Guns N' Roses or that area where kind of had the Hanoi Rocks and the other people
Yeah,
outside of them. So it was a really neat little cycle there
that's
of
funny because
sound.
it started out actually with a really rough bastard kind of blues with like Guns N' Roses, but definitely Hanoi Rocks, a rough bastard kind of blues, and then the whole hair thing became the thing, and then it turned into popish choruses, and of course that's the way things go. But there was a big contrast in the rough music and the girly looks. That
Yeah.
was really exciting, really exciting. But whenever everything turned into be sappy and cheesy, then of course everything was lost in that sense. And we got our tail out pretty as quick as
Pretty fast.
possible. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's part of it, and I love that. I love that era as well. There's a lot of good
Uh,
stuff going on there,
there's
and it
nothing
was
wrong with it. It's
lovely.
fun.
It was lovely provocative with the makeup and the high hair. Lovely provocative
Yeah.
until it turned into cheesiness.
I think, I think when people you keep a copy of a copy of a copy, like you can put a photocopy down and also you got like a little mark on it, and you keep copying it,
Yeah,
also that mark becomes really big and blurry.
yeah,
That's kind of what happened to it, where it wasn't like the same anymore. It wasn't the Hanoi Rocks and the Rose Tattoo, the Gritty. It just became this amalgamation of just, I don't know. And there were some good bands in there, but they were trying to be other people so far in that
yeah,
they lost themselves because there were some good musicians that were just trying to keep up.
yeah.
But a band
Exactly.
like yours didn't. I think almost because you were removed, it's allowed you to keep going. You know.
Definitely. And there's another part of it, which was so much luck for us. We had a really big local audience. We could be as provocative as we wanted to. We could be as rough as we wanted with, and still being some kind of mainstream in our little corner of the world, which helped us a lot economically, but also, having someone to talk to, having a dialogue going.
Mhm.
That was so great that people over here loved us. Not because they were rock fans, but just because they got the whole thing, and that's like we've been so lucky to have our local fans as well.
Well, I think because you write from the heart and people can relate to it. That's what good rock and rolls. And you have a lot of blues in your music, and I think the live track of Marlboro Man, your voice. Oh my God, I feel like I need to get a throat lozenge after listening to that song. I would never sing along with that in the car. Holy moly,
Yeah,
your
yeah,
voice.
but
How you keeping it?
and I'm not. And what I need to do is to sing all the time because it's every. I mean, guitarists can sit in the cellar and just tweedle, but I need to build it out, and I
Yeah,
can't do that. And people will call the police if I started to rehearse in my cellar.
the madman.
So I just I need to go to the rehearsal space and play with the guys, and I need to be out there playing live, and that's the only way to keep it there. But also, I mean, I rehearsed you know, I've been, I'm getting my voice used to being tortured in that sense, and just finding out, okay, if I go total primal, I'm gonna lose it. But if I can just, keep a lid on the primal part of it and just be building
Yeah.
it out then it keeps on forever. I mean, and some years ago we did a tour with 40 dates more or less in a row, one or two, days off, and I made it till the end simply because I got to train it every day.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but I stayed off the beer and everything. And chocolate, booze, and beer stayed off.
Okay, I know some of it's physical, like milk and dairy, and beer and stuff can afford you whatever. But I think I saw this great interview. And I want to tell people it's called, is it Tell Us More or Tell Us Rock? There's a documentary you did about a
Mm,
year or two ago that's up. I don't recommend people to go check out. It's fantastic. It's really good. You start off in the beginning that someone's talking to you and you being funny, but the color is your favorite color, and that's how it starts off. That's a great beginning. I don't want to root for people, but I'm like, I saw that. I was like, is this real or not? And then I'm like, I don't even care. That's funny at both ends. Somebody leaving it in and you saying it. I'm like, and
yeah,
then I was into the documentary. In the documentary, you mentioned about not drinking beer because you start telling jokes, you get loud, and it kind of just
yeah,
makes you into that social mood where you blow out your voice because you're just jibber jabbering all
exactly,
night long.
exactly.
Chocolate, though, what's the chocolate cake about? Just besides just getting the belly.
Well, see, that's maybe my own trick in the simple sense that if I can, tell myself the lie that it will hurt my voice, then I'll keep up the sugar as well. And because what I'm good at is, honoring my little talent, my little craft, and that's the voice. I'm so proud, and I'm so happy to be able to express myself. So I'll do anything to keep it. So it's a way of lying to myself.
I
Stay
respect
off
it
the
because no,
chocolate.
it's more about self. I need tips. I can't get away from the sugar. I love the sugar at this point in my life. It's the only thing now. I don't care so much
Yeah,
about the beer as it's the sugar, the cake,
yeah,
the ice cream.
exactly.
You know,
That's the
that's the
that's the
difference.
hardest rock. That's the hardest rock.
It is. And with you doing DAD, so 40 years, three of you guys, obviously your brother's one of them, all together in the same band, which is fantastic to begin with. Obviously, it's good and bad, but that's like life.
Mm.
But to grow together as musicians, and one of the things you guys have done is you haven't changed bandwagon, but you guys have, as musicians, done different songs styles. You guys haven't stayed the same, which is kind of the goal of being a musician. You want to kind of mix it up a little bit, keep it exciting. So I've liked that, but you've also done just your stuff. When you do your stuff, how is that broken up between, like, you write a song? I know you do songs as a band collectively, but when you write stuff for yourself, do you say this kind of sounds like maybe you want to push this aside to bring in this to the band to see what we do with it?
There
Or
will there will definitely be riffs or chord progressions that I maybe think, oh, maybe this should go to the solo part, or this should go to DAD. But mainly, it's something about just the time I'm in. So if I love it when I can focus on one of the, so it's the last 3 years it's been totally DAD, and then everything just goes to DAD in that sense. And when DAD takes a break or whatever, when someone wants to take a break, then suddenly stuff and then I think about the solo part of it. So it's definitely time brackets that says, okay, this
okay,
is DAD time. But of course, I cannot lie. Some stuff I put on the iPhone just in the just record small snippets and think maybe. But then again, because when you're there and you're doing stuff for DAD, you take everything, you throw everything in the bucket. So
right,
so it's definitely something about time frames.
okay, because I mean, being the singer of a band and having you have a good rock voice and very distinguishable. Once you sing in a band, anything similar to it pretty much sounds like that, or it sounds like the singer of that band being in a techno band. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like once you sing for a band, that's kind of, oh, is a band got a new sound? You're like, well, that's my solo thing. We do it a
Yeah,
little differently. It's not DD, but that's just it. Not I wouldn't call it a curse. It's just uh maybe a slight damper if you want to try doing something different. But
definitely.
it's a
And
blessing
of
that people
course,
know
I
your
was
voice that well.
yeah, I was of course in I was thinking many ways in and out of all that stuff. Also because it happened organically. The guys wanted to take a break. There was not a very good mood in the band, and so I was trying out, and I made 3 or 4 songs before I started thinking about maybe it's a solo album. I recorded them with Søren, my friend, who's the guitarist as well. And I wasn't sure what it was going to be. But the thing was, I couldn't really leave my. I mean, I'm into rock and roll. I'm into bastard blues rock and roll, and that's what. And I like it. And I like some choruses that you can remember. That's just how I am. And I couldn't really do like half-assed stuff just because I couldn't sound like the idea. I had to be me, and I really felt I needed also that freedom just to be me, to express myself at that particular point in time. What happened though was that, to me, there's a big difference between my stuff and the DAD stuff, in the sense that DAD is a monster machine. So when everybody gets behind the same kind of energy, DAD is an unstoppable force. And that's what I found out with doing the solo stuff, that these guys that I surrounded myself with, really, really great musicians, but also just great musicians. So it sounded perfect, but the whole monster energy that's in DAD, I can never do that. So you can actually hear a major difference between the two, my solo stuff and DAD, and I'm very happy about it. And just because I got to do this, I got to explore my, the corners of my creativity with my solo stuff. I've been a lot better, companion in DAD rehearsal space, because I've actually heard myself saying, "Hey guys, and what do you want to do?" Which is pretty good when you're trying to cooperate.
Well, I would imagine after 40 years, it's a good phrase to have at a certain point. I mean, well, obviously, if you do a solo band, you being the lead in the band, and you would be the one who would, you could finally flesh out your thoughts. People don't realize that the AD is a collaborative band. You guys don't really have full songs come in. Everybody kind of works on it. There's no particular idea. So with your solo thing, you kind of write all your own songs, and most of the people working with you are going to be good, and they'll be like, "Sure, let's do it," or "What about this?" But really, you are the driving force.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice.
And
it's like your hall pass to be whatever you want. But then at the end of the day, you're like, "Oh, I missed it."
And that's been so special for me to be able to force myself into do everything, to take those decisions. And it's choices all the way. Yes, no, yes, yes, no. And it's been so great for me, because now when I know in myself that I can go all the way, then I don't have to go all the way. Because I did that in DAD. Everybody in DAD is, it's a lot of honor around. I did this. I want to have myself expressed in this and this and this, and we fight about it. And that's the great thing about it, because it's only the very best survives, because everybody, let's do this instead. It's been great. So it's actually turned down my the ego part of me to be able to do the solo albums. And that's been. I'm pretty sure if you talk to the other guys, they're very happy that I actually relax a little bit.
The guys are like, "Why did you do this album years ago?"
Yeah.
You guys have been pretty consistent with albums, though, and I think this is great. So the new album has, the new songs I've heard so far, because we had set this up as just doing the greatest hits, but the new singles have just started coming out. Little different sound, especially on Ghost. Was that conscious, or is that just where you guys are writing now?
That's definitely conscious, in the way that all the songs that come up, we try and play them, we record them, and this was one of those songs that came up saying, "Hey, this is a little different," but it really survived, and it survived. Even beside, there's a lot of DAD songs on the album, that the new album. Of course, no one's heard it yet, but we have, and to me, it's just. I mean, the first singles shouldn't be like this is good for the fans, this is good for media, this is good for radio, this should be the ones that you're first off immensely proud of to play to your friends when they ask, "So how are you doing? What's going on with DAD? You want to hear a new song?" And that's like, "Wait, listen to this." That's the singles for us. So proud to kind of be on new ground, but also just this. I mean, we're getting older. We need. It has to be a little more. It has to be a little wider. We need. It has to be something that's a little out of just the straight on rock and roll. So the Ghost is, of course, a melancholic with some pop sensibilities, but also, I mean, we played it, as I said in the beginning. We played it live Sunday in a big festival in Germany, and people were stage diving to that song. Whereas one would say that the other song that's out now, it's called First, Second, and Third. Maybe
Yeah,
people would have chosen that song to stage dive, but they
I would have
were.
thought that too. Yeah,
But this, like, whoa, great! There's a lot of power in it, even though it's a great pop chorus. There's a lot of power in it. So, I mean, at the moment, we're so proud of those two songs and
you
how
know,
they,
in a year or two, it'll happen. It'll be like once the whole album's out and people have heard it, that'll be
yeah,
that's just another DAD sound. Like it'll be part of the language of the band sound. It's just right
definitely,
now, it's just a little different sound because you guys
yeah,
always have that rock and roll bluesy sound, and this one, the chorus is just the way it's written a little bit differently. It's
yeah,
just a little different. I mean, it
definitely,
still sounds like you because it's you singing. It's still got the same
yeah,
band playing it. You guys
exactly,
still have a lot of those tones. You guys have a certain tone in your guitar that started out with
yeah,
your first international record with Sleeping Today with that haunting melody, and that guitar tone has always kind of weaved its way through in and out of all your guitars albums.
definitely, definitely.
It's been there
The
on
one
some level.
another thing that's different from the last handful of albums is that we two teamed up with a guy called Jacob Hansen, who's made a lot of heavy stuff. He made Volbeat and he made Arch Enemy, and he's made a lot of German heavy stuff. And he's totally into. He's like a metal producer in many ways, but he's got this great drum room. So the drums are definitely more featured, and Laust really, really felt like he was at last being seen and heard. And okay, now you guys respect me after 24 years. So the whole drum thing, we really, it's also about confidence. If you've got confidence in your writing, then it's okay to call up a more expensive studio to do the drums. It's
Yeah.
okay to spend time on the drums because you know the end result will be great. And that confidence, luckily, we had this time around. It's really been
He's going to
wow,
want to hear those drums
wow.
forever now, though. Now he's
Yeah,
always going to want to hear that. Though. You may
yeah,
have opened a
yeah,
floodgate. Guys will be
yeah.
like,
Never,
I expect me to sound like this now.
yeah. Oh shit, no, but because it's been so great to first of all, the respect of for Laos, but also this having this consciousness, self consciousness. All right,
So people check them out. They're on tour this summer. Everything's on their website. They have a really great website. It's got even with the history on it. There's some links. There's a ton of stuff out there. Check them out on tour and get both the albums. Really, I mean, they're gonna be out streaming. And when the album comes out, maybe we can chat again and break down the new album. I'd love that.
definitely,
And pretty cool
definitely. It
stuff.
should be out in the start of October, but maybe there's a couple of singles coming out before that. So
Okay.
we're just working. It's busy and mixing, and we're happy over here.
We'll
Going
hopefully
on
talk
tour,
again.
from now on, every weekend we're out there screaming our, yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. You have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you.
Same to you.
Okay.
Nice talk to you. Yeah.
Nice
Bye
talking to you.
bye.